You're listening to the Holistic Spaces podcast brought to you by Mindful Design Feng Shui School, episode 332, Feng Shui Must-Haves for Your Living Room Decor. Welcome to episode 332 of the Holistic Spaces podcast, where we hope to inspire, educate, and empower you to create your own holistic spaces that nurture and resonate with you. Anjie Cho and Laura Morris are the founders of the Mindful Design Feng Shui School and authors of Mindful Living, a guide to the everyday magic of Feng Shui. We teach Feng Shui online at mindfuldesignschool.com. Be sure to sign up for our mailing list for special free content, workshops, and events available only for our newsletter subscribers. So we have a couple of new things to share. We announced it last week, but in case you missed it, we are now on YouTube. So we're going to try out recording the video as well. So hopefully you guys will like that. And so you can find us on YouTube if you search for the Holistic Spaces podcast. And we're also doing a new giveaway. So a giveaway for a free mini consultation where Laura and I will invite a listener that enters the giveaway. We'll select one winner and they'll receive a mini home consultation. And we've done them quite frequently over the years. So hopefully you are excited about that. And the way to enter this giveaway is make sure you're signed up for our newsletter. So you can go to mindfuldesignschool.com/join or look in the show notes to opt in for our newsletter. And then you can upload, well, in the newsletter, we're going to give you a link so you can upload a review. So you're invited to review the podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, I guess that's what it's called now. So leave a review for Holistic Spaces podcast on Apple Podcasts, or you can leave a review for our book, Mindful Living, on Amazon or on Goodreads. Take a screenshot and then upload it, and then you'll be entered in our giveaway to receive a free mini home consultation with me and Laura. And it's really special because Laura and I only do these consultations together for these podcast giveaways. And so it's something that you can't buy and that isn't offered very often. So we hope you'll enter our giveaway and leave a review because the reviews help us so much. So I hope you will do that. Leave a review for our book, leave a review for our podcast. And so, okay, I guess we'll get started. So we're going to talk today about Feng Shui must-haves for your living room decor. And the living room is a space in the home for everyone that lives in the home, the entire family, or, all the household members to gather. It's a place to entertain and host visitors. So Feng Shui can really help to create a good flow, to create more opportunities, deeper connections, and bring in more support for every person that lives in the home, even if you live alone. So we're going to go through some of our favorite ways to work with our home decor from a Feng Shui perspective, especially in regards to the living room. So Laura and I are going to go back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The first thing to consider one of the important things to consider when arranging your living area is to think about seating. And seating is two things. One, seating is probably going to be one of the bigger purchases that you're going to be making for your living room. So we understand that this is going to take some thought. And so we'll just give you a few things to consider with the feng shui in mind. It's important to make the seating inviting. There are a few approaches that you can take when you're going to arrange it with feng shui in mind. But again, the first thing I would say is to make sure that your seating is comfortable. So if you can, you want to make sure that you're prepared to sit and linger and chat there for a while with the seating you purchase. And yes, things should look beautiful, but they do really need to be comfortable. And how deep the seat is, how low it is, the profile, like what are you going to like to do? Do you need an ottoman? Do you like to kick back? You need to think about these things. So trying it out is really important. And because you want to invite, when you're sitting, entertaining, I don't know, relaxing, whatever you're going to be doing in your living room area, you want to invite that yin quality, that ease, right, that you're trying to find. Second is to make sure there is enough seating for everyone. And this is interesting because, again, space is obviously going to be a factor in this. But if you do want to have a more social, more people, more entertaining, you will have to account for that from a seating perspective. So we say in Feng Shui that, basically you can invite as many people into your space. This would include, same thing goes for a dining room, as you have seating for. Because, it's one thing, yes, you could have a party and, people are sitting on the floor. But honestly, if you're really looking at this to create that, more friends, more gatherings, and just think about the seating you want. And it's the general rule is, okay, how many people would like to regularly come and sit, and then add one seat above that? Okay. So there's extra for that potential person to come, that there's always kind of room for new people to join you. And then the third thing to think about when you're talking about inviting seating is arrange the furniture so that you are facing one another, or your guests, or whoever, or even just the family members, so that you can encourage conversation. You want to also think about, and this can be a challenge, so it might take you some time. You're going to have to maybe sometimes draw out things, measure out things, think about these things if you're buying new seating for your living area, is to avoid having the seats block doors, entrance, kind of egress and ingress. You want to avoid having sofas pushed up against sliding doors, or doors that aren't, or back doors. It's something that we see frequently because people have space restrictions, but you really want to try to avoid that, because when you block doors in Feng Shui, you are shutting out voices, you're creating blocks for energy. So you want to avoid that.
The next tip or feng shui must have for your living room is to bring in everyone's favorite living greenhouse plants. So when we talk about living greenhouse plants, we mean literally living greenhouse plants. So we're not talking about fake plants. We're not talking about silk plants or dried plants. We are talking about living green plants. And you can have those other things in your home. You could have fake plants and dried plants, but for a feng shui must have for your living room, we're talking about living green plants. And by the way, you don't need to do all of these things. You can just pick one of the many things that we're going to talk about today. So if you would like, you can, besides in creating more inviting seating, like Laura talked about, we can bring in some living greenhouse plants, because in feng shui, house plants represent wood element, which is life energy, bringing in kindness, flexibility, compassion, growth, healing. And so when you place a living green houseplant in your living room with the intention to bring in these qualities of kindness, flexibility, compassion, if you take good care of a living green plant in your living room, you can imbue your home and your living space and the people in your home with these qualities, an intention of creating more kindness with each other, more connection with each other, more flexibility, more growth. And in addition, plants in general, living green plants in general, bring in a vital life force energy. They bring in really positive chi, and they bring in nature into our interior spaces. So you want to do your best to select healthy plants that are easy to care for. I always recommend, if you're a plant newbie, to not to go for the most challenging plant. Like, for instance, people always ask us what plant. They want to know exactly what plant to get. So if I have to give you an example, I would say pothos or monstera are really great plants to start with. They are really easy to care for, and they have rounded and soft leaves. So in general, they check all the boxes for a feng shui plant. So bringing in any kind of living greenhouse plant will really improve the feng shui of your living room.
And another enhancement that you can bring into your living room, and again, you do not need to do all of these things that we are mentioning. This enhancement or activation would be maybe work better in certain living spaces better than others, specifically maybe if you have an open concept space, but bringing in a bowl of fresh oranges. And I know those of you that have listened to us for a while have heard us talk a lot about oranges, and I'm going to talk about them again. Oranges can brighten up a space, especially, if it's a more yin space. So you remember how I was talking about yin? It's all about balancing the energies in feng shui. So maybe your living room is a little on the darker side, or maybe the ceilings are a little lower, or, maybe it's just, it feels a little bit too relaxing to the point where it maybe is inching toward being stagnant. Oranges can brighten that up. They bring in that yang energy. The sweet, bright scent of oranges and their vibrant color really invites this auspicious, good feng shui into this living space. They symbolize, in feng shui, they symbolize good luck, prosperity, because the Chinese word for orange rhymes with gold, and they look like, if you think about it, if you did a cartoon drawing of an orange, it looks like a coin, right? It looks, it's very, just if you did a very simple drawing, it's round, it's goldy orange colored, and it's, so it mimics that. It brings in that auspicious energy. Simply just find a bowl that you really like. Again, if we're doing it for a living area, make it something that you like to display, and then add 9 fresh oranges. Why 9? Because in feng shui, we love the number 9. It's very auspicious.
Our next feng shui must have for the living room to enhance your feng shui is to bring in a rug. An area rug in the living room is something really wonderful to have. You can touch in with it. You can walk barefoot on it. It also grounds the space. And a flat, square shaped rug or rectangular shaped rug brings in the earth element. And it brings in these qualities of earth element, which are stability and good health. And I think everyone in the home could typically use a little bit more grounding, a little bit more stability and good health. It also gives more grounding to the family in general or the household in general. And earth element connects us to Mother Earth. So just like when you walk on a nice cozy rug, you can feel your feet touching the earth. You can feel the earth under your feet, and you can always feel supported, not worrying that the ground will give out under you. So just bringing in a rug with the feng shui intention that you're going to ground, stabilize, and bring in support for everyone in the home is a beautiful feng shui enhancement for your living room.
Next is fresh cut flowers. Fresh cut flowers welcomes in the chi of nature to your living room. In feng shui, we actually use fresh cut flowers, especially fragrant flowers, to cultivate more joy, to shift the chi of the space, and actually even to impact your own personal chi. It's actually quite a profound adjustment that we have. So we offer you a simple way to do this, which is to bring in flowers with the intention to bring in more joy, more beauty, more color, more life energy, and to embrace the fact that yes, flowers will die. It's not like a plant. It's a different objective. So plants continue to grow, right? They're in the pot, you're cultivating, you're growing them, you're nurturing them, they're growing. Flowers you bring home, you spent the time to pick the freshest, the most beautiful ones, sure, but they're still cut, right? So they are going to start to fade. But this is okay because it teaches us to celebrate what is in the moment and to also recognize that impermanence is okay. In tarot, flowers in full bloom mean the time is now. It means it's a signal in a card. If you have flowers in bloom, it means that whatever it is you've asked, the time is now. So it does give you this sense of the present, right? Living in the present moment. And keep it simple. You could even do one single flower in a vase, or you can go out and get your bouquet of fragrant flowers. And then once they start to wilt or fade away, you can either bring in new ones and continue to turn them over, or, you can let them go. And then when you feel that you need to integrate this again into your life, you can do it again later.
So, our next suggestion for a feng shui must have enhancement for your living room is lighting. So, I think lighting is super essential in every place in your home, especially the living room. And that's one of the spaces that maybe you might neglect. And lighting is something that so many of my clients, my design clients, everyone wants to know about lighting. They want to focus on lighting and have the most light, as most light as they can for the most part, or have like variations in lighting and more mood lighting. So just looking at lighting brings in a lot of positive feng shui into your space, because all living things, many living things, especially humans, grow towards light. Humans and nature love light. And in the living room, you could do your best to harvest as much natural light as you can during the day. Take the time to open up your window treatments. Take the time to open up your windows if the temperature is okay, to bring in that natural light into the space. It's so valuable. It's so healing, and it heals everyone in the home, whether they're there or not. And also be sure to invite this light in, because it's lighting it. It's inviting in fire energy, and that fire energy helps to cultivate inspiration, passion, lively relationships for everyone in the home, with each other, to connect with each other and to connect with others, and to really connect with the heart. And what you can do is, for your artificial lighting, you can use a dimmer, so you can have more flexibility, so you can adjust the amount of light that's emitted. At nighttime, it's really helpful to have dimming lights or dimmer lights, because that brings in more of the yin qualities into the space and connects with our circadian rhythms. And in the daytime, it's better to have more light and have more of that yang energy increasing. And you don't have to have your lights on maximum at all times. It's important to have the capacity to light up a space properly. That's what's important in terms of feng shui.
Artwork. So artwork is very personal. And you don't need to have artwork on your walls for good feng shui, but it is a really straightforward way to bring in a different energy into the space. You can do it through the subject matter, or through color, or through the shape. So art can be actually, if it can be, depending on where you're getting it, a fairly accessible way to do it. Obviously, you can spend money, different budgets for art, but it nowadays, depending on where you go, you can find some beautiful, colorful pieces that really can make a room sing. And it's important that you remember that your living room is in a way a public space. It's the space, it's your face to gather, to others out in the world. It's where, when you have friends and acquaintances, or maybe even work colleagues, whoever, people from, outside your family even come in, you're going to share that space with them. So the artwork you choose, it might be important, or you might want to consider it being something that everyone can appreciate, because art, again, is very personal. So if you wanted something that was maybe a little bit more specific or quirky or whatever, maybe leave that for, a space that is more intimate to you. Family photos are also a good thing that you can hang in a living room or in a family room, but it's not required, and within reason. Again, you're sharing this space with others. You want them to feel welcome. If you're not sure where to start, it again, buying artwork can be really daunting for some people. I would say, if you have a sofa, over your sofa, if you focus on one, sort of larger scale piece that fills the wall above the sofa, pick something beautiful that is bright, colorful. I always like to go with abstracted landscapes, honestly. And keep in mind some of the other tips that we've been giving you. We've already said that plants, and so that's the color green, and oranges and reds, like from oranges, those are all really uplifting colors. So, think, maybe get some inspiration from that and see what you can find. And then one note is it's important to look at where you hang your art. You don't want to hang it too low. We do find that sometimes when you go into spaces, people have hung their art either too high or too low. But low artwork can actually lead to the chi being lowered, right? You get low chi. So you want to make sure that it's hung at the right level.
So another thing that you can hang in your home and in your living room are mirrors. So to enhance your feng shui for your living room, you can hang art in your living room, but you can also hang mirrors. And mirrors are said to expand, brighten, and also bring water element into a space. They're really great in living rooms just for this reason. And so if possible, you want to locate a mirror to reflect a view outside, like if you have a really lovely nature view outside, or to visually create a larger space. So if there's a way to enhance the visuals of the space, to double the size of the space, or to invite in something like a beautiful nature scene or water element into your space, it's really helpful to find. And any size mirror is okay. And any type of mirror is okay, as long as it's a clear mirror. So people often ask, like, oh, what shape is the mirror? The shape isn't so as important as that it's a solid mirror that's clear and it's not, doesn't have any obscuration. So not like a mosaic mirror, those are broken up. And also not like an antiqued or vintage mirror you want, or like an obscured mirror. You want something that's really clear, that's showing a true perception or true reflection of your space. You could also make sure that it doesn't cut off the heads of anyone in the home. That way every voice is heard.
And the last element to consider, again, you don't have to do all of them, but another thing you can consider adding to your living room or your area where you're gathering is something that adds stability. So we talked about the rug, but you could also add in an earthy object with weight for stability. So heavy objects with intention, like a statue, like a large rock or a piece of sculpture, bring the earth element into a space just because the fact that they are heavy, right? They are grounding. They provide this grounding point. And it's a really simple way to create this stability, which of course also when you bring in the earth element, it supports your health for the people in the home, especially when it's done with intention, especially if you add it, for an example, to the center of the home. You can go into a crystal store and buy a large chunk of a crystal that you love. It could be amethyst, which is really great for tranquility and contentment. It could be smoky quartz, which brings in even more of that earthy element and it clears negative energy. You could even work with bringing in a Buddha statue, which also will serve as a spiritual reminder. And having the Buddha, up off the ground, lifted and gazing at you as you sort of integrate with others, or when you're coming into the space to be able to greet the Buddha as well. Any kind of bodhisattva statue as well. Again, when you place these statues, doing it with honor and with mindfulness.
Well, we hope everyone enjoys this beautiful month of June. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. And you can tune in every week for a new podcast episode. You can also watch us on YouTube now. If you like our podcast, please share it with others, subscribe. You can leave a review. You can always support us by checking out our offerings. We teach a Feng Shui certification program, and you can always leave a review. That really helps too. And you can sign up for our mailing list by visiting mindfuldesignschool.com/join. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.